So I decided to do this book, Rumble in the Jungle, by Gilles Andrea and David, however you say that last name. That's a long last name. That's illustrated by him. But this is the book that Michelle and I are going to be going over for our EOTC project. So I thought that I'd dive into this with some different strategies of how to get comprehension flowing as I'm reading it to the students. I think this book would be like a first grade level maybe. I could see it in a second grade class, but especially for read alouds, I think a first grade level, especially with like what I would be having them ask. Sorry, having them ask questions about and like having them answer or like discuss as I'm reading. So I'm gonna do a little read aloud of this. Rumble in the jungle. There's a rumble in the jungle. There's a whisper in the trees. The animals are waking up and rustling in the leaves. The hippo's at the water hole. The leopard's in his lair. The chimpanzees are chattering and swinging everywhere. Some animals are frightening and some are sweet and kind. So let's go to the jungle now and see who we can find. And I think I would stop here and have my students guess what kind of animals they think they're going to find in the jungle. As you can see at this page here, the animals are kind of peeking out from behind the trees, so they can even use that as like context clues and say, "Oh, I see the rhinoceros right there, or I see the giraffe stack right there." And I'll be like, "Oh, maybe we'll have to keep reading and see." And they give you a little bit of hints too in the words here in the first page, so they can even look at that and say, "Oh, they said something about chimpanzees. I think those would be in the jungle." So I'd probably stop there and let them guess what we're going to be discovering here. So then the book kind of goes on and talks about chimpanzees. They swing through the trees, and if we can't find nuts to eat, we munch each other's fleas. And I could even have the students answer the question, why would they munch each other's fleas? And I'm sure if they're not aware of why chimpanzees do that, it's like a grooming process. They'll probably have different answers and be guessing, well, maybe it's this, well, maybe they're doing it because of this reason, and using comprehension and their knowledge of just life in general and like what they've learned up till that grade to see if they know exactly why they eat each other's fleas. Lion. The lion's the king of the jungle, who quietly sits on his paws. But everyone quivers and shudders and shivers as soon as he opens his jaws. And you could even ask the students, oh, why do other animals quiver when he opens his jaws? And I'm sure that's a very simple answered question. They're like, oh, because all the other animals are scared he's going to eat them. Like, oh, yeah, you're like, good job. And you can even do that, like, make a lion noise for me, and they can all go roar. And I'm sure that your class would love that. Elephant. It's great to be an elephant, all big and fat and round, and wander through the jungle just elephing around. That's a really weird word right there, and I would say that to my students probably too. Be like, oh, elephing around, and maybe I would use that term as don't elephant around in the classroom. So you're not elephants, you're little students. So don't make a big fuss and fuss over everything. So that I could like mention that or something there. Zebra. I could have been gray like a donkey or brown like my cousin the mule, but instead I got stripes, which my lady friend likes, since they made me look handsome and cool. And I'm sure all the students will see this and go, "Yeah, they're kissing, gross." And you'd be like, "Well, the zebras like each other because they think they're pretty." And maybe you could turn that into like, what do you think? What do you like about yourself? What do you think makes you pretty? And I'm sure a bunch of students have different things to say about themselves because I feel like at that age, students aren't really self conscious about themselves. They really like a lot, and the girls will probably say, "I like my pretty pink shirt" or something like that. So that's really cool. Snake. A boa constrictor is a slippery snake who squashes and swallows its prey. He knows that it's not very friendly or kind, but they do taste much nicer that way. And you might have some students here asking, well, how does he do that? Or like, what does that look like? And we're like, well, we're not going to look up any videos or anything because that's graphic, but you can kind of explain like, this is how a snake like eats its prey. And if they want to know more about it, you could put informational books about the jungle or about snakes in your classroom, and then they can pull those out and read them and learn more about snakes and how they eat their food and everything. Giraffe. Some animals laugh at the gangly giraffe, but I hold my head up and feel proud. I really don't care when my head's in the air and my cheeks getting kissed by a cloud. And that's obviously a metaphorical term, as the giraffe's so tall that like its cheeks are getting kissed by the clouds, which like it's just like can see the clouds, which you can ask the students like, how tall do you think a giraffe's neck is? And because if it says it reaches the clouds in this book, then they're probably like, oh my gosh, as tall skyscrapers, and kind of let them use their imagination there. Hippopotamus. Hello, I'm a big happy hippo. I sleep in the sun till I'm hot. And when I'm not sleeping, I mooch in the mud, which hippos like doing a lot. Crocodile. When animals come to the river to drink, I watch for a minute or two. It's such a delight to behold such a sight that I can't resist chomping a few. And with that, you can be like, oh no, like the crocodile, what is it gonna do to the hippo? And I'm sure the student's like, oh no, it's gonna eat it, oh my gosh. And like you don't want to get too graphic with them and be like, like in the jungle there's predator and there's prey, and you can kind of go in that for a little bit. And then also again, put books on your shelves, informational books, informational text, kind of like what we talked about in our class, in this content reading class, that goes over that in a way where like a child in the first grade can like comprehend and understand that. Rhinoceros. The ravenous rhino is big, strong, and tough, but his skin is all baggy and flappy, which means that there's plenty of room for his lunch. And that makes him terribly happy. And you could even go over how like they use terribly for like a good context rather than a bad context, because usually when you see the word terrible, it's negative, but they use the word terrible here to mean something positive. So you could go over that with your students too, be like, oh, terribly happy. So I guess you can use that adjective in a positive way. Gazelle. No one can run half as quickly as me, the galloping, gorgeous gazelle. I can leap up so high that my horns touch the sky. I'm awfully pretty as well. You see like the little lion eyeing the gazelle. So again, the food chain, and I'm sure they might have comments on that or something. But you could even ask the students, how high do you think gazelle jump? And I'm sure they'll come up with billions of different answers, and how they look like they're soaring right there. Gorilla. The gorilla is big, black, and hairy, and the thing that he likes to do best is look all ferocious and scary and wallop his giant great chest. Thud, thud. And then there's a little pat, pat, because that gorilla is a baby gorilla. And you could like ask the students, why do you think gorillas pat their chest? What are they trying to say to the other animals or to like the other gorillas? And I'm sure again they'll have a lot of different answers that they would want to share, and a lot of different views, which is good because it's kind of fusing imagination and also fusing comprehension of this book, of nature, of just life like in general, and again like throwing in informational text in the classroom, especially if students request it after a book like this, where they're like, oh my gosh, I want to learn more about that animal, to have more books on it. That would just be so great to have those there for them to read either like in their spare time or for a project or something. Leopard. If you meet a hungry leopard prowling through the night, make sure that you call him sir and be incredibly polite. You could ask the students, like, why would you be polite? Beware of the terrible tiger. You don't always know when he's near, but his eyes shine like lights in the blackest of nights, and his growl makes you terrible with fear. Makes you tremble. That's not bad. And you can ask the students, like, oh, why would the other animals be scared of the tiger? I think this is the last page. The night has started falling, but the jungle never sleeps. The vultures circle slowly, while the leopard slowly creeps. And if you listen quietly, you might just hear the growl of a hungry pair of panthers who are still out on the prowl. The lions and their little cubs are sleeping in their den, so let's leave them till tomorrow when we'll visit them